What's happening, everybody? Tyrone Bowman live. Welcome to the program. Welcome to the conversation, analysis, and commentary on today. So let's get started here. And for those of you that will be joining, I'd like to say good morning to you and please be safe out there. Today, I'm going to get started by talking about the latest developments with the pending storm that is on the horizon. That's according to NewJersey.com. The New Jersey weather. When will the people want to know when will the storm start? Winter storm timing. It's going to be about 12 to 14 inches. Let's talk about it here. A winter storm expected to slam New Jersey with 12 to 24 inches of snow. Could start early Sunday as rain for parts of the state before transitioning to snow through the day. The timing for the heavy snow, with rates up to 2 inches per hour, is expected to be Sunday night, according to the forecasters. Quote, precipitation will likely begin as a period of light rain for most areas, before changing over to snow into the late morning and afternoon hours from north to south. The National Weather Service, for areas north of I-78, precipitation will likely remain all snow, closed quote. The National Weather Service has issued blizzard warnings for 17 counties through Monday evening, with 12 to 24 inches of snow possible, along with powerful wind gusts up to 55 miles per hour. The snow will be heavy, wet, and sticky until later in the event, the Weather Service said. However, blowing and drifting of snow is certainly a concern, especially closer toward the coast where winds will be the strongest. Total forecast snow accumulations have increased substantially across the board. The Weather Service said significant disruptions will happen to travel and infrastructure are possible. Power outages are possible with wind gusts up to 55 miles per hour along the coast and up to 4 miles per hour in the inland parts. Also, here is an update. A lot within the Camden, New Jersey, and parts of New Jersey, you may be experiencing a water slowage, a water shortage. Well, what happens is a main water valve has broken, and as a result, people are waking up this morning and they don't have the normal pressure for the water that they would normally have. And there is a crew that's been working around the clock to try to get the water restored as soon as possible. So that's why it appears like your water may be turned off, but in actuality, no, your water is not turned off. Your water is it's doing pretty good. So don't be alarmed about the water shortage. All right, I want to get to some main stories that's happening around the country. And I'm not going to go into great detail, but I just want to deal with some of the headlines. President Trump has issued a warning to Netflix that if they do not fire Susan Rice from the streaming platform, they will face severe consequences if they don't get rid of the Democrat. And this is the person. Susan Rice was President Barack Obama's national security advisor, and Trump wants her gone. He doesn't want any Democrats working anywhere. So here you have it. He wants her fired. So let's find out what's going on with this story. This article was written for The Guardian by Joanna Patridge. Donald Trump has told Netflix to remove the Democratic foreign policy expert Susan Rice from its board or face the consequences, quote unquote, while the streaming platform is locked in an extraordinary corporate battle to take over control of Warner Brothers Discovery. In comments posted on his Truth Social platform, the president described Rice, who served as national security advisor to Barack Obama and UN ambassador and White House advisor under Joe Biden, as a political hack, and accused her of having no talent or skills. Well, let's stop right here. First of all, Susan Rice is a highly educated and talented woman, and she is well aware of her responsibilities at Netflix or any other job that she may have. And just because he doesn't like somebody doesn't mean that they're inept. It doesn't mean they're stupid. The bottom line is it's old fashioned racism. Whether you all want to acknowledge it or not, it's bigotry and it's racism in its highest form. And in order to be an effective Republican in this day and age, you have to be a bigot and you have to be a racist. Because if you're not a racist and you're not a bigot and you don't espouse hatred toward black people and other peoples, then you're not considered a true, genuine, authentic so-called conservative. And the bottom line is with white people, it's about the money. It's about how much money Netflix stands to make from the merger and how much money the government is willing to give them. So Trump's comments herald a fresh intervention in the takeover battle between Netflix and Paramount Sundance for the studios and streaming businesses of WBD only weeks after promising not to get involved. He said in an interview with NBC News in early February that the Justice Department would handle the takeover of WBD, having issued previously he would be involved in reviewing the deal. Any takeover will have to be approved by federal regulators. On Saturday, however, Trump wrote of Rice, quote, "Her power is gone and will never be back. How much is she being paid and for what?" Well, how about this? During the midterm elections, the power of the Republicans is going to be gone. People, wake up. Forget about smelling the coffee. Wake up to reality. How are you going to praise Jesse Jackson as being a great human being, a great person, and then espouse racism at the same time? The fight for equal rights is not over. The fight for equal justice under the law is far from being over. And people, you can sit back and you can pretend that it doesn't affect you and your family, but every decision that you will make is going to involve politics, whether people believe it or not. And I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. One of the biggest things that destroyed the black economy, black sufficiency in America, is desegregation. During segregation, Black Wall Street flourished until it was bombed to smithereens. During segregation and Jim Crow in this nation, Black businesses flourished. You know why? Because they were forced to depend upon each other. And when you did deal with the other people, they dealt with you in a subservient way. They gave you soldier rotten goods, talked down to you. No matter how educated you were, no matter how articulate you were still a boy from some redneck, foul-mouthed, cigar-smoking, tobacco-spitting people trying to insult your intelligence. And if you don't think what's going on in America is real, then you are living in a vacuum. Rice appeared on a podcast in days. Well, first of all, Rice was a member of Netflix's board from 2018 to 2020. Before leaving during the Biden administration, she rejoined in 2023 and sits on the company's nominating and governance committee. She appeared on a podcast in recent days during which she said that corporations, law firms, and news organizations that showed loyalty to Trump would be held accountable if the Democrats returned to power. And that is true. I'm persuaded that the Democrats are going to return to power if they act like they're going to help people. If the majority of the people are persuaded that the Democrats have their best interests at heart, they will give them what they're seeking and asking for as we come into the upcoming midterm elections. And Democrats have been winning all across the board. Their strategy is working, and I think it's going to continue to work. As part of his intervention, Trump reposted a post on X by the right-wing influencer Laura Loomer, another racist, who called Rice and Netflix anti-American and accused her of threatening half of the country with weaponized government and political retribution for choosing who they wanted to vote for as president. Well, isn't that what's going on now? Retribution? Revenge? It's okay for them to do it, but they want the Democrats to turn the other cheek. And they want the Democrats to be pacifist. It's okay for senile, decrepit Mitch McConnell to serve in the Senate, and it is quite obvious that he's not running the day-to-day operations as a senator. The man does not know what he's doing. The majority of these people who serve are old. I mean, very, very, very old. And it's time for new leadership in America all the way around. When people are past their prime, whether they're a singer, dancer, entertainer, or politician, when they're past their prime, they mess stuff up. And all this is about one thing: it's about money, and it's about not having black people in powerful positions to make to make decisions. So his latest comments come with a couple of days left for Paramount Skydance to table its best and final offer to compete with Netflix's existing offer. So Paramount, now listen, which is controlled by the billionaire Ellison family, has tried to secure a $108.4 billion takeover with a bid backdrop by a personal $40 billion guarantee by Larry Ellison, a co-founder of Oracle. Under the Netflix deal, the streaming company's vast library would take control of WBD's priced assets, including Warner Brothers, the studio behind franchises including Harry Potter, Superman, Batman, as well as HBO, home to shows including Game of Thrones, The White Lotus, and Succession. It's about money. This is all that it's about. That's the bottom line. And when money is involved, they don't think that the majority of the people deserve a opportunity to have that kind of wealth and access. Well, let's look at from the Wall Street Journal. The tariff ruling sends CEOs back to the company war rooms. An article written by Chip Cutter, Ruth Simon, and Sarah Nasira. For a few minutes after the Supreme Court struck down President Trump's signature tariffs Friday, Ethan Allen chief executive Farouk Kathwari felt a jolt of relief. Then a jumble of emails from colleagues began pouring in. Quote, "This is good news for us," a leader in the furniture maker's Mexico operations wrote. "It's too early to know what this means." The head of merchandising and email minutes later. The executive followed up soon after with no guidance from the court on refunds. She said businesses must continue to pay. Now that the Supreme Court has resolved one question about Trump's tariffs, it has left U.S. businesses leaders awash in a flood of others. Are tariff refunds any closer to reality? Will the possibility of new tariffs under a different legal authority prove costlier? And how to proceed without ruffling the Trump administration, which has staked its economic agenda on tariffs or customers seeking price breaks. Many company bosses say they are now spending the weekend digesting legal briefs and the president's response to game out what comes next. Since the ruling, Trump has announced a new global tariff of 15% under a different legal authority, arguing the levies are necessary to address large trades and balance of payments deficits. We'll try to understand it much better, Kathy Worry said the days ahead. It's a bit complicated. No, it's not complicated. They make stuff complicated. It's called taxation without representation. That's it. That's all it is. And I don't need to read any more of that article because it's just going to go on and on and on with a bunch of yada, yada, yada in the language of my people. Okay, Floyd Mayweather says he's going to unretire and resume boxing after the Tyson exhibition. Just days before his 49th birthday, Floyd Mayweather Jr. has announced that he will end his retirement and resume his professional boxing career after his spring 2026 boxing exhibition with Mike Tyson. Mayweather has signed an exclusive agreement with CSI Sports, Fight Sports, as his promoter for the next stage of his career. Quote, I still have what it takes to set more records in the sport of boxing, Mayweather said in a written statement to ESPN. From my upcoming Mike Tyson event to my next professional fight afterwards, no one will generate a bigger gate, have a larger global broadcast audience, and generate more money with each event than my events. All right, that's garbage. Too darn old to be coming into the ring with fixed fights, because that's all they're going to be. They're going to be fixed fights. Floyd Mayweather is not going to physically win anything. Each fight is going to be fixed. They'll be taking dives in the playoffs to make it look like he's still the greatest of all time. Muhammad Ali is the greatest of all time, point blank, bar none. Everybody wants to take the throne from the late Muhammad Ali. They want to snatch the crown, but they'll never take it because there was only one of him and there will never be another. Never. Will there be talented individuals that will come along? Yes. But none will be more charismatic. None will speak with total fluidity. None will have the ability to draw the masses of men and women from all walks of life and connect with the populace within the world as a humanitarian, as a decent individual, and all around great guy. So for this is all about money. According to The Guardian, the article reads, quote, don't go to the U.S. not with Trump in charge. The U.S. tourist with a valid visa detained by ICE for 6 weeks. Jenny Kleeman wrote this article for The Guardian. When Karen Newton left home in late July 2025, she knew that international travelers were being locked up in immigration detention centers in the U.S. Quote, I was aware, she nods, but I never thought it would have any impact on my holiday. Karen, who is 65, had a British passport and a tourist visa. She hadn't been abroad for 8 years and was keen for some guaranteed sun. I really just wanted to get away from the house, end quote. She and her husband, Bill, who was 66, had an ambitious itinerary that would take them through California, Nevada, Wyoming, Montana, and then to Canada over a 2-month period. Las Vegas wasn't to Karen's taste, way too commercialized. She much preferred Yellowstone, where they saw Old Faithful, the famous geyser, as it shot boiling water into the air and got up close with some extraordinary wildfire. There was a bison right next to the car. Another time, a wolf walked past. Her eyes sparkled at the memory. It was just amazing. The dream holiday ended abruptly on February 26th, September, as Karen, on Friday, the 26th of September, as Karen and Bill were trying to leave the U.S. When they crossed the border, Canadian officials told them they didn't have the correct paperwork to bring the car with them. They returned back to Montana on the American side, and to U.S. Border Control officials, Bill's U.S. visa had expired. Karen's had not. I worried, she says. I wasn't worried for him. I thought, well, at least I'm here to support him. She didn't know it at the time, but it was the beginning of an ordeal that would see Karen handcuffed, shackled, and sleeping on the floor of a locked cell before being driven for 12 hours through the night to an Immigration and Customs Enforcement detention center. Karen was incarcerated for a total of 6 weeks, even though she had been traveling with a valid visa. Karen has no criminal record. She's a grandmother who spent 8 years working as an administration assistant at a primary school before her retirement. I don't even have parking tickets in the background anywhere, she says. I'm not a dangerous criminal. I didn't enter the country illegally, and I had everything I needed to be there. All right, let's take a look at Karen. This is Karen, ladies and gentlemen. And if it could happen to her, it could happen to anybody. She's not a black person. She's not Latino. She's not Mexican. She's not from Haiti. She's not a South African. She's a woman from the UK, a Caucasian woman. And now she's talking about her treatment. So why did ICE detain her and keep her locked up for so long? A possible answer began to emerge over the weeks she was incarcerated. As Karen got to know the guards at the Northwest ICE Processing Center, where she was held, she kept hearing the same thing from them, that ICE officers are paid a bonus every time they detain someone. ICE agents are paid a bonus every time they arrest and detain someone and lock them up. ICE officers are paid a bonus every time they lock somebody up. Now, you see why there's so many arrests? It's not about immigration. It's about getting paid, locking people up. There's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that people have no idea. ICE agents get money per head that they detain, the guards told me, Karen says. It's no secret that the Trump administration has been pouring money into ICE. Its annual budget, $6 billion a decade ago, is now $85 billion. ICE is now the biggest funded law enforcement agency in the U.S. Since last August, new recruits can expect to receive a signing bonus of up to $50,000. Karen's experience has left her convinced that ICE agents are being given even more incentives to arrest and detain anyone they possibly can, even blameless tourists who have all the paperwork they need to be in the U.S. Within days of Trump's second inauguration on 20th January 2025, his administration ordered ICE officials to detain more people with new quotas that would increase the total number of arrests from a few hundred to 1,200 to 1,500 a day. Reports immediately began to emerge of international travelers being detained by ICE officials. Wow, there's a lot done. I'm gonna read this next one. I think I have a break coming up in a second. On the 25th of January, German tourist Jessica Braschi was stopped by ICE and held for 45 days, including 8 days of solitary confinement. Early in February, Germans Lucas Salif and Fabian Schmidt were also detained. In late February, the British backpacker Rebecca Burke was incarcerated for 19 days in the same ICE facility where Karen would later spend 6 weeks. Like Karen, Burke had been trying to leave the U.S. when she was detained. Canadian actor Jasmine Mooney was held in ICE for 2 weeks in March. New Zealander Sarah Shaw and her 6-year-old son were locked up, incarcerated for 3 weeks. I'm taking a quick break, Tyrone Bowman Live. I'll be right back, right after this. I usually have music, but I need to find it. everybody. Tyrone Bowman Live. I'm back. I'm going to continue to read this article from The Guardian about the individual, a lady by the name of Karen from the United Kingdom, who came into the country for a visit and ended up being locked up in the ICE detention center. I'm going to pick up here. These stories may be the tip of the iceberg. We only know about them because they involve people who were prepared to talk publicly about being seized by ICE. They're genuinely young people who were held on suspicion of being in the U.S. to work without the correct visa. That's why when Karen heard some of their stories before she left the U.K., she assumed their experiences had no relevance to her. Wow. And that's where people make the mistake at. Just because you think it won't come to your city, your town, your neighborhood, or it couldn't involve you, so there's no empathy for anybody else. Everybody is not a criminal. And just because somebody just went to prison doesn't mean that they're guilty of what they were convicted of. Don't you know people are framed every day, set up, taken advantage of, every day in the judicial system? I don't want to hear about that, about this, it's only a few bad apples. If you work within law enforcement, you have a responsibility and a commitment to uphold the Constitution of the United States of America. Just do the job with integrity. That's it. Do it honestly. How would you like it if somebody violated your rights of your family members, framed somebody in your family? For those of you that work in law enforcement, how would you like it? How would you like it, the same stuff that you do to people, if somebody did that to your family in the same vein, the same way? You wouldn't like it. You would want justice on the highest order. How would you like it if somebody did some of the same exact things, the same scenarios, same circumstances, same situations, and they got away with it? You would not like it. And that's why people had better start thinking about others in situations instead of just condemning them and judging them, saying, well, that's what they got, what they deserved. Well, suppose your child gets shot and killed, and somebody says they got what they deserve. Would you like it? No, you would not. Because in your eyes, your child could do no wrong. So the article goes on to say, when Karen heard some of their stories before she left the UK, she assumed their experiences had no relevance to her. She was a retired person taking a holiday. In the end, Karen was detained for longer than almost every one of them. Quote, I met Karen in her home on a quiet road in Hertfordshire. She sits in the corner of her sofa next to a magnifying light and a trolley that holds a sewing box, thread, and everything else she needs for her cross stitch. The walls of her home are adorned with frames containing embroidery. The first thing you see when you come through the front door is a framed 9,000 piece puzzle of the Tower of Babel that took her 2 years to finish. She says she does not like staying away from home for a long time. She says over tea and Dodgers biscuits. When they returned back from Canada and U.S. Border Control agents saw that Bill's visa had expired, Karen fully expected to be allowed to return home. Wrong. The Newtons immediately offered to pay for their flights. They had funds available to cover the tickets, but the officials weren't interested, she says. Instead, they were taken into an office and made to wait there from 10:30 a.m. until nightfall. That's what happens. This is what they do. Be careful when you're traveling, especially when you're traveling abroad and coming back into America. Heed the warning. Be careful. This stuff is real. There's so much more to this article, and I'm not going to read all of it. I'll probably read part 2 on tomorrow and turn it into a separate video. So I want to get on to some other headlines real quick. Well, Canada has certified Gulfstream jets following a threat from President Trump's. All right, fallout's taking place in Hollywood over the Jeffrey Epstein files, and a surprise strike is popping up. And this is according to NBC News. Quote, if you want a simple example of how the icy fallout of the Epstein scandal is playing out west, take a look at a decidedly evolving event that was supposed to happen in the Willis Annenberg Center for the Performing Arts on February 26, honoring mogul Casey Wasserman and LA Lakers team governor Jeannie Buss. At the beginning of the week, the special event called The Wallace Delivers Cheers to the Home Team appeared to be on. This is even after Wasserman announced he is selling his namesake talent agency because of fallout from his communications with Ghislaine Maxwell, and after LA Mayor Karen Bass said Wasserman should step down as chair of the LA 28 Olympics Committee. Sponsored by the Time Gore's Family Foundation, the Detroit Pistons owner philanthropy, and chaired by NBA Commissioner Adam Silver, the gala had a power-packed list of donors, including soon-retired Disney CEO Bob Iger, Michael Jordan, Jeff Shell, Irvin Assoff, Sherry Lansing, Kris Jenner, Debbie Allen, and her husband Norm Nixon. Oh boy, it's politics with everything. Let me ask you a question before I close. I would love to know, and most people probably won't respond, but this is the question. What do you all think about what's going on in the country today? Honest opinion, honest answers only. How are you being affected? All these people, they are disgusting. That's a true answer. Appreciate it. You notice that the media does not want to really cover and talk about how people are being affected. I'm done reading for today. I'm not going to read anymore. I don't want to do any more reading. I want to speak from my heart. You notice how the major news media will not cover everyday things that's going on in the country because they don't care. They don't care about the suffrage of people. They don't care about that people are hungry and homeless. They don't care that people are spending more money for everything in this country. Television networks only care about one thing: ratings. That's it. It's the ratings game. What are the ratings like? What's the sensational story? What can we cover? How sensational can we make it? Who can we exploit? And with the midterm elections coming up, and it will be here sooner than you think, people are still playing games. They're upset because the Democrats have a partial government shutdown because the Democrats are not going to. They learned from the first government shutdown, don't give the Republicans what they want. They're mad because the Democrats will not voluntarily sign off on what they want. Quote, nobody about us. They care about their money. That's true. They care about money, power, because behind the scenes, all the jockeying is going on. That's all that's happening. And they come before cameras and they lie, they pontificate, they pretend that they're doing such a great and wonderful job on behalf of the American people. Well, the American people are hurting, they're suffering, they're worried, they're tired. Not too long ago, I did an extensive hour program, probably more, about how many people don't have jobs in America and how many people cannot pay their bills. They're struggling to pay rent. They're struggling to keep the gas on. They're struggling to keep the electric bill paid. People are using one credit card after another to pay off the credit card bill. People were lied to and said they were going to get stimulus checks. They're not coming. Don't hold your breath. People want to get their tax refunds so they can take the money and try to catch up on some things. Seniors are hurting and suffering like never before. So many programs have been slashed and cut and whittled down to nothing. Services are dilapidated. And it's affecting everyone. I don't care. Listen, you can lie to yourself, America. I'm telling you, it's affecting everyone. Black people, white people, Hispanic people, Mexican people, Latino people, Jewish people, Asian people, Chinese people, Japanese people. I see Chinese and Japanese people that are homeless on the streets in the city where I live. Homeless, struggling. I see white people that are homeless, struggling. Black people that are struggling. I was coming to the subway one day and I saw about 10 Jamaicans that are homeless, struggling. Don't tell me that everything is wonderful. Everything is wonderful in the world of the rich and the greedy and the powerful, because they only care about making money. Money is their God. Money is their altar. Money is their life. Money is their temple. And greedy preachers, let's throw them in the mix as well. Not all, because you got some sincere, devoutly true men and women of God in America, but they don't get no recognition. They don't get no play. They don't get no accolades. But the greedy, selfish preachers who are always begging for your money, they got a gimmick, they got a pyramid scheme, they come up for their cameras with their polished nails and all this kind of stuff, and they outright lie to you. Buy my book, buy my DVDs, buy, give. And they pretentiously make you think that they're helping the vast majority of people. I do believe in America first in this sense. Take care of the populace in America. Not just the wealthy and the privileged and the powerful. Everyday struggling people must have a sense of decency just to have a job, a sense of decency to come home with their head held up high, a sense of decency to be able to just deal with their cost of living, give them salaries and hourly wages that are conducive to be able to take care of themselves with some dignity. And people have to get food stamps. Those of you who work in these places, stop acting like you own the food stamps and the SNAP benefits. Your callous attitudes, your sneerish attitudes, and the frowns on your faces. It's not your money. You're being paid to render a service. There shouldn't be any preferential treatment when people come into the welfare department. They're all there for the same thing. Medicaid, Medicare, SNAP benefits. Everybody should be treated the same. This is not about TikTok. It's not about fun and games. This is not the rating games. I don't do that over here. If but one person watched this video, it's cool with me. Because it's about presenting the service. It's about being a voice for the voiceless. It's about advocating for causes that are just, that are decent, that are righteous. It's about not forgetting about those who are left behind. That's why I can't be a politician, because I cannot look into a camera and lie and placate and play games. I would not play the games. I wouldn't do it. I wasn't raised like that. So don't keep telling us that everything is wonderful in America when it's not. Can it get better? Yes. The only way it's going to get better, you all have to help to make it better. And bottom line is, if you haven't gone online to register to vote, do so. Go online and register to vote. You don't have to wait until November. Just get your ballot like I'm doing, and then send it back in. Just have the proper ID. So when I come here and make these videos, and that's why I don't monetize this channel. We have over 700 and almost 80,000 people who have watched this YouTube channel, with 3,000, I think, 10 subscribers, and hopefully we'll get more. I'm on a mission. I'm not here to play a game. I'm on a serious, genuine, authentic mission. Where this mission will ultimately take me, I don't know. But I do know, when I graduate from law school, I'm on a mission as an advocate to fight for those who can't fight for themselves, to speak for those who can't speak for themselves. Without cost, without obligation. For me, this is a divine call on my life that I've said yes to. For some lawyers, thank you. For some lawyers, they just want to make money. Billable hours. That's win, lose, or draw. They only care about making money. Don't you all lose hope. Reverend Jesse Jackson, he's going into eternity. May he rest well. But that message still resonates today. Do not surrender. Do not give up. Do not quit. Don't let people tell you that your life is not worth anything. It is. You don't have to be rich. You don't have to be famous. You don't have to be a celebrity. You don't have to be a YouTube sensation. You don't have to be powerful. Just be a decent, upright human being. And do the right things for the sake of doing what's right. We don't need plaques. We don't need awards. We don't need to be recognized. All the awards I've got them tucked in a box somewhere. I don't even put them on the walls. I don't need to be reminded. I don't care about them. Okay, you gave them to me, blah, blah, yada, yada. I put them away. I've told folk, after I'm dead, you can do whatever you want to do with them. I don't ever want to see them again, because they don't define who I am. How to treat people, how to interact with people. And there is going to be a generation of new leaders raised up, whether the old guard wants it or not. They're coming, they're on their way. These old politicians, they're going to have to leave. There's a new generation being raised up, a new generation of activists, a new generation of poets and writers, a new generation of decent entertainers and songwriters, a new generation of spokespeople are being raised up. A new generation that know how to treat people with decency and respect. I'm not going to allow myself, and this is the last statement I'm going to make, I'm not going to allow myself to succumb to the foolishness that's going on in this nation. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Tyrone Bowman Live today. I really appreciate it. Take care of yourselves out there. If the storm comes away, they say it's going to happen. Make sure you're safe. Make sure you're secure. Look out for one another. Never surrender. Never quit.